Not sure why everybody is continuously counting out the Atlanta Hawks. They've won now three straight game ones. One in New York, one in Philadelphia, and one in Milwaukee last night. And it is, we definitely are seeing some young stars emerge from, being nice young players to being really good franchise franchising building blocks. I mean, we have Devin Booker over in Phoenix. Now we have Trae Young over in Atlanta. Wasn't even an all-star this year and is carrying this team. It was an amazing performance. It seemed like every bucket last night that Trae had, that it was just backbreaking, and that it was just absolutely killer, and the Bucks really couldn't get over it. He drops 48, and Trae Young doesn't even have a great three-point shooting night. He goes 4 of 13, but was able to get to the free throw line, continuously able to get to kind of that mid-range area, get some floaters going. I want to talk about Atlanta because there was a couple things I saw Milwaukee do, especially early in the game, where they were able to get inside and kind of attack John Collins and Capella. There was a couple plays where Capella kind of seemed confused, where maybe he stays on the big, but the guard, I think Holiday had I think it was a dunk or at least a layup off of these plays where Capella just sticks to Lopez or whoever the guy he was with. It might have been Giannis as well. But there were plays where he sticks to him and then Holiday gets an easy layup. In the first quarter and then really the first half, there was a few dunks, Giannis and Holiday and Lopez, where they were just getting to the basket and there was just there's no pushback by Atlanta. And so that was a little worrisome to see at the beginning. Things kind of went away from that, and you got to give credit to the Hawks for continuing to keep their foot on the pedal. I mean, you look at the box score for Capella and Collins, you kind of say, wow, they had pretty solid games. I mean, 12 and 19 for Capella, and then 23 and 15 for John Collins. So it's definitely going to be key for Collins to be a consistent scorer in the series. I don't know how much he will be. I'm not sure if Bogdan Bogdanovic is right. I mean, he had 4, 1 of 6 tonight. And so you do worry about the scoring, although, because you definitely can't count on Trae giving you 40 or pretty much 50 every night. So there is a little concern there. It's interesting because both teams get past the score of 110. Final score 116 to 113. Bucks go down early, 0-1. Hawks take a 1-0 lead after game one. And, it's interesting to see how both teams scored relatively high. However, neither team shot over 50% from the field and neither shot 25% from three. So a little interesting there. There were an okay amount of free throws too. So it was just interesting to see kind of how, the teams were still able to score. Herter did his thing. Gallo came in and gave a couple buckets. He also is not. It seems like they're going to attack the bigs here of Collins, Capella, and Gallinari. So as much as Gallinari is a good offensive player and can get some good shots and rise over some people, I don't know how good he is on the defense. I know he's not good on the defensive end. And so that might be something that you might see Milwaukee try to attack more. Again, I feel like there was moments where there was a play where they would attack both Collins and Capella, and they would allow a gap to open up where Giannis or whoever had the ball was able to just feed it off to who was ever rolling, and they were able to get a dunk. I think that's actually the Lopez dunk comes off of an action like that. So maybe Milwaukee goes and says, we're just going to continuously attack the rim. As good, and we'll shift to Milwaukee now, as good as Milwaukee was and as good as Drew Holiday was, I'm not quite sure if that's the game script you want. Middleton obviously had a really poor shooting night. He goes 0 for 9 for 3. And just never really was in any kind of rhythm at all. And so Middleton kind of disappears a little bit. Giannis does his thing, almost gets a near triple-double. Holiday himself goes for 33 and 10. I'm not quite sure if, like, you definitely can't have Middleton just disappear, because Middleton's inefficiency, taking 23 shots and only getting 15 points out of it is not good. You definitely want him to step up. But again, they were still close. I think if you're Milwaukee, I think you definitely say, we're going to hit our threes a little bit better. Connaughton goes 0-4 and didn't really provide too much of a spark. He has that last shot to end the game, which I thought was just weird. I don't think that was the play design, but it definitely was an option. That maybe not the first option, but the last play where I believe it was Middleton drives baseline and he kicks it out to Connaughton. You could tell, like, once that ball was in the air, that it was short. And I don't even think, does he touch rim? I think he just airballs the shot completely. And so that was a little confusing of a play there to go with. And I mean, if you're Atlanta, you're kind of just saying, as long as it's not Giannis at the basket, Middleton getting an open shot, Holiday who's already on fire, or like PJ Tucker in the corner, like, we're fine with it being Connaughton. So yeah, I mean, good situational defense there by the Hawks. And yeah, I mean, look, I still think Milwaukee can win, but I don't think it's going to be as easy. I've heard people talk about it could have been, Milwaukee sweeping. It could have been Milwaukee, in 5 games. And, I just think that regardless of how many games it's going to take, I just believe that the Hawks are going to make it harder. One thing I like to look at is effective field goal percentage. And the Hawks, actually, if you look at their regular season numbers, they weren't in the top 10. But once they moved off of Lloyd Pierce and were under the helm of Nate McMillan, their effective field goal percentage went up to be a top 10. And look, you're a good team if you can be able to defend and shoot at kind of the top 10 effective field goal. Like, that's the difference. Like, and again, I know it's simple as like, oh, if you're making shots and you're obviously going to be the team that's missing shots. But I think there is a method to that. I mean, successful teams will typically be top 10 in both. Milwaukee is a good matchup. I just think ultimately, I don't know if Trae Young has enough help as far as scoring goes. I mean, Collins is good, but I think they would definitely love to have DeAndre Hunter, who's out for the season, really. I don't know if they can count on Lou to come in and kind of be a spark off the bench, especially when he's a defensive liability. Gallinari we already spoke on, and then Okongwu and Solomon Hill, who were the other guys off the bench last night. I don't think they're guys that are going to be getting more than 10 or 15 points in the game. Herter can kind of step up a little bit. He didn't have the greatest shooting night. Goes 1 of 6. So look, Milwaukee takes a big lead. And I always think that when you take that first game, you put so much pressure on Milwaukee now to win the second game. Because if they go down 0-2, going back to Atlanta or going to Atlanta, it's just a horrible situation for Milwaukee to be in. So expect Milwaukee to come out guns a-blazing next game. I think they can definitely take game 2. However, I think the Hawks can just grind out as best as they can. I still believe that this is going to be a Bucks series in 6. But look, Atlanta, they're here and they're ready. This is the Final Four of the NBA, and they are, especially Trae Young, wants to perform on the highest of stage, on the biggest of stage, and he's ready. He showed it, and we'll just see if he can maybe duplicate this. It's going to be really tough. They need a little bit more help from some of their other guys, but ultimately, I do feel like Atlanta is going to make this a little harder for Milwaukee than initially thought of, than what everybody initially thought. Again, the 4 or 5 game series, I don't think it's going to be that. That's pretty much out the window. I think Atlanta's going to at least get one in Atlanta, make it a 6 game series. Could go 7, you never know. So we'll see. Atlanta's a good team. Milwaukee's a good team. We'll see who wins the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 2 will be Friday night. We'll see who wins. Let's check the odds real quick, because I actually really looking at that. Milwaukee's favored by 7. Yeah. So look, I think they'll bounce back in a large fashion. We'll see what happens. Game 2 on Friday.